So today I thought I'd do a little guitar tutorial of Peanut Butter by Easy Life, which I covered a couple of weeks ago. Um, it's quite a simple song in terms of chord progression. It's the same chords throughout. Um, and in the original recording, of course, there isn't guitar all the way through, but I'm going to teach the part that is played today, and obviously since it's the same chord progression the whole way through, you can just repeat that same guitar part the whole way through if you want to do it solo with a guitar. So the chord progression goes something like this. And some of those chords are quite tricky, but what I'll do later on in the video is I'll teach some simpler versions, simpler ways of playing the same chords effectively. So let's get straight into it. The first chord, you want your index finger on the second fret of the low E string. You want your third finger on the third fret of the D string. Your fourth finger on the third fret of the G string. And your second finger on the second fret of the B string. And if you're strumming it, try to mute the A string and high E string with your index finger. So it should sound like that. The second chord is very easy to change to. Keep your second, third and fourth fingers all in exactly the same place and just move your index finger to the first fret of the A string. So it's just a B flat minor. And you could bar across to the first fret of the high E string as well if you wanted. I usually don't. Then we move on to this chord, which is a bit more tricky, and as I said, later on I will teach a simpler way of playing this chord, but for now you want your second finger on the 8th fret of the A string, your third finger on the 8th fret of the D string, your first finger on the 6th fret of the G string, and your little finger on the 9th fret of the B string. And again, mute the high E string. The next two chords are exactly the same shape as this, just move it down a fret each time. So my fingers are in exactly the same shape, move them all down one fret. And then move them all down one fret again. And for the last chord of this chord progression, this is probably the hardest one to play. You'll want your index finger on the 5th fret of the A string, your second finger on the 7th fret of the G string, your third finger on the 7th fret of the B string, and you want to stretch your little finger all the way to the 9th fret of the D string. To play that chord. And I'll go through it slowly now. Altogether it should sound something like this. you can see, I have a bit of trouble with that last chord as well. So I think these first two chords are fairly simple, but the harder ones come in up here, those three, and this last one especially. So I'll just show you another way of playing those last four chords. So for a simpler version of this chord, and in fact the two following, the thing that I would recommend to do is just not do the highest note with your pinky finger, and instead just play the three lowest notes, exactly the same positions. You could still play it with your second, third and index, or you can switch to your third finger on the 8th fret, your fourth finger on the 8th fret of the D string, and your index finger still on the 6th fret of the G string. And just step down one fret each time as before. And for the last chord, you can really easily play exactly the same chord down here. So that's an open D string, 4th fret on the G string, 3rd fret on the B string, and 2nd fret on the high E. And that is a whole chord progression. So just to finish off, I'll play through the whole thing a couple of times with the harder chord shapes and with some simplified chord shapes. And there we go. So I hope that was helpful. If you want to watch my cover, I'll put that into the description. And yeah, subscribe to the channel, like the video. That'd be really cool. Thanks for watching.